connect super fast.
Yeah, I totally didn't know they're upgrading our Exchange, but not our street cabinet.
Oh, that's terrible. Oh, they will get round to it though, because for ages they wouldn't do mine, and I'm on it now, so interested to see what the video playback looks like. I'm not going to try it and test it now, but try it later. I think Richard's in the chat room, so Richard, you should see the video now. So let us know what it looks like.
I think 2017 they're going to do our street cabinet.
Blimey. Right. Well, we can talk about it in the show. So I've got the recorders going. So
I'm not talking about it. You can.
Yeah. Gary and Jason, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Okay. We should be coming through loud, nice and clear tonight. Now, this is a bit where Jason doesn't speak to me. So, Gary, what speed are you on tonight?
I believe 128.
Very good. I'm on about 40 meg tonight. So, Jason, what you on?
About 3.
Well,
That's bytes, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, up until this morning, I was on my 1 meg, which it got to 1.5 occasionally, but it went from 1.8 to about 1.3. But anyway, the Sky Broadband was installed today, and they didn't come out to it, so it's all done at the Exchange, and I'm getting sort of between 30 and 40 now. It actually, the bottleneck is no longer the internet connection; it's now a wireless, which is a nice change. So
yeah, I'm sure we'll get there one day.
Yeah, I mean it's frustrating it took so long, and not even worse for you. But Richard says he's on 95 meg there. But it's such a difference it makes, and like I said, it's pretty clever how they don't really have to come out to do anything with you. And in fact, I was talking to a guy at work today about it who he was bemoaning his 400k, and I said, have you checked whether you can get the extra speed? So we did a check, and I showed him how to check it, and for an extra £1 something a month on his Sky Broadband, he's now gone from half a meg to 40. So he's quite chuffed with that. So I should be on commission.
But I guess the reason why they had nothing to do in your house is because for you to the street cabinet it's still just standard ADSL, isn't it, over copper?
Yeah.
So it's all between the street cabinet and the Exchange, which is, as I was saying, they're upgrading our Exchange for one of the villages nearby, and they're upgrading their street cabinet, but our street cabinets are scheduled for 2017, even though, by complete irony, the Exchange is named after our village.
Yeah, the whole system, and it goes back years. I mean, regulars will hear me complain how far I am from the Exchange. Where I live would warranty, I'm sure nowadays would warranty its own Exchange, but like you, it's just the distance from the Exchange. It's very, however they set the Exchanges up in the 50s and 60s.
Because they don't add any new Exchanges.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was going to ask you, Gary. So we don't see any real investment in new Exchanges, are we?
Well, I doubt it, because there's not really any real investment in landlines now. They've got enough capacity for the number of landlines out there, and that's what drives Exchanges rather than data, because really for data they don't actually need Exchanges.
Right.
If they got it all wired up properly. There's a really good book which I can recommend. I think it's called Tubes, and it's the history of the internet, and it tells you how whole the internet's all wired up, and you realise then just quite how vulnerable it is. There's a great sequence in there where he's talking to this guy in, I can't remember which city it is in the States, but basically they're down in this basement of this, I think it's a coffee shop. And there's this one plug in the wall, and the guy just says to him, "Don't pull that out. You'll take the whole city offline." So it's fun.
Yeah, and I guess there's no real investment in new cable either, is there? Virgin, they just seem to be just using the existing cabling.
Well, Virgin are restricted. They can't. I mean, there's some very silly restrictions on Virgin, which means they can't actually expand their network. I mean, it's like where I used to live. The Virgin line actually used to run down the bottom of my back garden, but they weren't allowed to connect it to my house. Right. which was great, but legally they weren't allowed to connect it. They could physically have done it quite easily, but they weren't legally allowed to.
Yeah. And it's just I think Virgin service would be great for me if I could get it. It's just I know they're not going to do that, and the 40 meg, I'm not complaining.
It's good enough.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, if you dare complain, I'm sending the boys round.
So anyway, so I'm excited about that. Hopefully, and I think Richard says it's a lot clearer, the video stream as well. So that should make it better on the live. If you're joining us on the live chat room, or even if you're just watching this on YouTube, maybe we could look at something for the future of actually just getting video in there as well. So maybe we could get your video in there, Gary.
Yeah, potentially. He wouldn't want to look see how I look tonight.
I mean, your hair's in rollers, isn't it?
Yeah, just like that. I must say, I'm just back from my physiotherapy, so I'm looking a bit bedraggled.
So we were off last week, so there's quite a few things we want to catch up on. There's been firmware updates, which seemed to go okay for me, Jason, but you had some issues with the Surface firmware updates. We can talk about that.
Yeah, it's actually getting hold of them. Yeah.
There's been a Windows Phone update. There's a couple of tablets we talked about on the last show, some low-cost tablets, and actually some of them have been announced. The guide stuff for the Xbox we haven't probably talked about since that was in general availability. So quite a few things. I don't know if you guys got anything else you wanted to.
Cortana in 2 weeks.
Okay, let's start with that. We'll start with Windows Phone. Now, I was tipped off by someone on Twitter a couple of weeks ago that it was coming to the UK last week, and obviously it didn't turn up. But now we're seeing that it should be in June. So tell us about that.
Yep. So I'm being told by the end of June. So that's not
2 weeks.
2 weeks basically. Yeah. So and that will be available in the UK and China, which is quite an interesting one. Obviously, the UK makes some sense as English language; it's easy to do. China sounds much more challenging. I mean, if you start, because obviously the thing they say holds it up is getting all the relevant data for Cortana, local information, news, places of interest. And if you think about doing that for the whole of China, that must be quite a challenge. Unless they're just going to do it for the real population hubs like Beijing and Shanghai and Hong Kong, maybe. But yeah, so but for the UK, yep, so it should be here in its full entirety. Still beta, of course, because they're not going to make it anything alpha other than beta for a while. But yeah, so could be out. Well, definitely will be out by the end of the month, I'm told.
Because we haven't really seen any official dates for the rollout of Windows Phone 8.1 yet. I know it's obviously dependent on the carriers and Nokia / Microsoft now finishing the is it? Gosh, I've forgotten the name now. It's the Lumia Cyan, is it?
Cyan, yeah.
Cyan update. So we still haven't really seen anything much too official about that. I mean, obviously the Lumia 630 is out now, which has got Windows Phone 8.1 pre-installed with the Lumia 930 fairly imminent. But no, nothing official for existing handsets.
No. I can't see being too far away. Cyan's very close now, from what I'm being told.
Yeah, I mean, it would certainly make sense, I guess, if it was to almost coincide with the release of Cortana.
Yeah.
I think I'm really trying to get Cortana because as I was mentioning before, I'm a big user of Google now, and I'm interested to see how it compares between the two. And because of our HTC phone, don't say anything, Jason. Because the HTC phone I've got won't go and switch into US mode. I can't try it. But will we see a difference because it's what would the difference then between if you were using a Lumia switched into US mode and Cortana and then using it on my HTC in English, UK English mode?
Probably more. It's going to be more the information it gives you. So if you ask for what were the football scores last night, well, actually, might not in the States now, but in the States it'd probably give the Jaguars and the Jets and things, whereas in the UK it's going to give you Spurs and Arsenal and Sunderland and all sorts of teams. It's those localizations basically are going to be key for it, and journey times and things like that. It's going to know where you are and what's relevant to you.
Yeah. I think that's what I'm looking forward to seeing the most. I haven't picked up a Lumia 1520 yet. I keep looking at eBay, see if I can see any deals on it, but they're sort of 350, 400 price range. So
they hold their value quite well, actually.
Seem to be, yeah. See the recent, certainly by going off the eBay pricing, yeah. But I think that was the final thing. It just I don't know whether we've talked since I was on holiday about this, but just really the final thing now for Windows Phone just seems to be those extra apps that are missing, the Sonos, something like the say I was on holiday, there was a Disney app that you could use on your phone to do your passes and things like that. There was there was an iOS version and an Android version, and nothing for Windows Phone. So I guess that's really the only areas now where Windows is behind. Windows Phone is behind.
Yeah, I know there was a big deal made about the fact the Pinterest app came along, but it was apparently, I didn't try it myself, but was just a wrapper for the website. So, you know, it's all well and good these apps coming along, but they need to be proper apps.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, we don't. Just shortcuts aren't really what we want.
No, that's just it. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, as you say, I mean, for me, if I was asked where my biggest gap is, for me, it would definitely be the Sonos app.
Yeah.
I think the difficult something you mentioned some time back, Jason, is these little odd little apps for little things which throw. It's like someone was mentioning to me the other day that McDonald's have currently got a promotion on with the World Cup, which is worldwide. And basically you can scan something on one of or key something in from one of the things they're giving away. I'm not quite sure the full details, but there's an iOS app and there's an Android app. There isn't a Windows Phone app.
Yeah, and that's always it, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think there is a McDonald's app, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. Again, that's iOS. Yes. But the interesting thing is they've had a lot of flack about that from South America because the Windows Phone being such a prominent phone out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's quite interesting. So I think the problem is I think a lot of the driver is still American centric, and in America they just don't see the Windows Phone, so they don't see it as being a big market, whereas it is becoming one.
Yeah,
it's becoming one today now. So,
yeah, it definitely is.
You see a lot of people with them over here now.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. And it's frustrating though when you see things like the O2 advert with that cat, which drives me absolutely mad. But you know, it's like the app's only available on iOS and Android. What happens if I've got a Windows Phone on O2? You know, it sounds such a little thing, but you know, without those apps, that's why Windows Phone is going to struggle. Because I think, you know, when Windows Phone 8.1 comes along, I think it really does close the gap. But you know, if the apps aren't available, then.
And actually, there is a few O2 apps because that's what my HTC Windows Phone is on O2, and there's a sort of an app center thing, an O2 app center. But yeah, I take your point though. It's that is the thing that lets it down. But certainly, I see plenty of people using Windows Phone now.
Yeah, and I think, you know, it's definitely growing. I mean, I saw on WP Central today that Next, the UK shopping chain, have just released a Windows Phone and Windows. I think it's one of the Universal apps. So you know, it's little things like that. You know, shows that headway is being made, and I do think that with Windows 8, you know, growing as it inevitably is going to do, because people are still big Windows users, that universal app and being able to purchase an app once is potentially going to drive, you know, Windows Phone development. So I think as long as things continue to grow, I think we should see that slowly shift. But it is, you know, when you think Windows Phone 7 launched 4 or 5 years ago, you know, it's really taking its time.
And interesting that, and also with my kids, that, you know, one of the lads has got my old Galaxy Note, and the other's got these new 625, and they watch a lot of YouTube videos, as well, kids seem to do nowadays. In fact, interesting, perhaps, slice of how technology is nowadays. I went into the living room last night, and both the kids were sat on the sofa with the Windows Phone and headphones on watching YouTube videos. No one else was in the front room, so they could watch whatever they want. There's an Xbox One, there's Netflix, you know, there's Sky. We've got a big TV, and none of that, and they sat together with one earpiece each, watching YouTube videos, which perhaps shows you where things are going. But the reason why I mentioned that is that they said that they get the best YouTube experience on Windows Phone, better than the iPad. They've got an iPad, an original iPad, or the Samsung, or the Surfaces. You know, all the different devices they've got access to. This Windows Phone they said is the best one because it doesn't buffer, and it gives them the best picture. So very strange. I don't know how Microsoft done it, but I mean, YouTube was kind of poor relation on Windows Phone for a long while.
Yeah, and still is essentially. I think.
Yeah.
I think it is still just to wrap up the website. I suppose don't suppose they're watching Stampy Cat videos, were they? That seems to be the.
I've no idea. I think
My
it's
kids
Minecraft.
are absolutely mad for Stampy Cats. It's like they're playing Minecraft. Then when we say that's enough, right? Stampy Cat videos then.
Yeah, I don't know. How you know, I said to you, you sat there, you know, one of your phone each, and I've got a surround sound system and HD TV, and you know, you could watch anything on any device. There you are, one with your phone each, but you know, that's what they're doing. So I'm also talking Windows Phone 8.1, and there was another update, I think, since we last recorded, an OS update.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's all we can say about it because nobody knows what it does.
I've allocated us 20 minutes to talk about it.
I mean, the one thing I would say since the update too, I'm not, you know, my battery life has been amazing. You know, it's back to its old way. One thing I have done though is I have purchased a USB wireless charger, which I use at work now, so that's kind of plugged into my phone's always charging. But at the same time, you know, when I don't charge it, it's definitely lasting a lot longer than when it first came out.
Oh, yeah, I think I've noticed a bit of a change. I don't know since the last update though. I'm not sure whether the battery slightly deteriorated on mine. I don't know whether it's not a very scientific look at it, but I'm not quite sure whether it's actually gone a bit downhill.
Yeah, so I've found it much better. I mean, you know, Gary and I talked about it quite at length on Twitter with how badly it was, but yeah, it certainly turned things around quickly. Considering we still don't have the proper OEM drivers from the Cyan update, or in your case the HTC update.
Richard said he calls it the burning phone update. Since I applied it to my 920, it's now hot to touch.
I've noticed that. No, I noticed that. Mine gets warm as well now. And I do think there has been a slight drop-off in battery life compared to the previous one, but primarily when on Wi-Fi. But that could actually be to do with my Wi-Fi, so I'm not drawing lines completely because I'm having some issues with my Wi-Fi as well at the moment. So.
The only way I can, sort of my anecdotal evidence is I only use my Windows Phone occasionally, and I tend to use it more since it's got Windows Phone 8.1 on it, but then I just noticed I'm charging it more and using it more, but then since the update prior to the last one, I didn't need to charge it as often, and then after the last update, it seems to require a bit more frequent charging, but it's not very scientific.
No, I think that's probably my experience as well. Again, not very scientific, and as I say, it could well be to do with my Wi-Fi, because I do think it's struggling to get on my Wi-Fi at the moment.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to replace it. I've got a really weird situation about my 5G network off my router works fine, but the non-5G doesn't.
There was a I don't know the link, but there was a great article on all about Windows Phone about battery life and how just moving, you know, a small distance away from a cell tower or even your Wi-Fi access point puts an exponential additional strain on the battery. And they were saying things like, if you've got Wi-Fi available but your mobile phone signal is really weak, then turn off your data connection, because actually you'll lengthen the battery rather than trying to force it to permanently reconnect and disconnect from the phone.
Yeah.
So
I often will turn my data connection off when I'm on Wi-Fi. In fact, I wish there was actually an automatic way of doing that. That'd be really cool. If data could do that, that would be really cool.
Yeah, because I mean, it will prioritise traffic over Wi-Fi, but it will still try and maintain that. You know, we had the same when we stayed in Sherwood Forest. You know, we had Wi-Fi within the cabin, but the mobile phone signal was really terrible. When I didn't turn the 3G off, or even turn the phone off, since there was no reception anyway, the battery just drained in no time at all. But turning those two things off and just using the Wi-Fi, it really extended the battery life.
Yeah, I suppose it's the radio's polling and things like that, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just that the signal strength required as you move further away from it, and so it's not a linear growth in battery usage. Actually, you know, an exponential growth.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, but overall, I think Rich is saying he's had issues with IE and things on his phone, but I can't say I've had any OS issues.
I've had one really strange one, which occurs 3 or 4 times a week, where the whole screen will go 4 times size. So it's like instead of seeing 3 tiles across the screen, I'll see 1 tile across the screen.
Ah,
It's really weird. The only way out of it is to power off and power back on. So like I'm seeing a quarter of the screen
Right. Yeah.
all the time, including on the apps when I go through to them. So I had to power back off and back on, and it works fine. But I've only had that since the second update, so that's a bit weird.
And when are we expecting the sort of the finished version then to roll out?
Well, I'm hearing rumours that there's at least 2 more updates. So one of those might be the Cortana enabling one for the UK. I'm not sure what the other one will be. But I mean, there's obviously still patches to be done, and I think there's things they need to do to patch it to match the hardware patches which are going out.
Because there are phones. Is it the 630s now shipping with 8.1 on it?
Yeah. Which tends to belie that fact, so it's a bit weird.
Yeah.
But then again, they did ship the Xbox One out in an unusual state, so.
That's true. Yeah.
Shipping doesn't really mean anything these days.
No. And some would say, still, I wouldn't say that. So anyway, I'm still tempted. Richard said he can get the 1520 for $298, including VAT on Amazon, so that's pretty good.
Yeah,
so I think I looked and it was $350 sort of to $380, something like that. So I am tempted to get one of those. I like to have one of each OS, and the HTC does do that. But I actually think I would get more than just OS testing. I think I'd actually be able to use it as a tablet.
Yeah.
Right. What else do we want to talk about? Oh, so we've had we took Xbox. So since we last talked, Jason, have you got your Xbox One connected up your set-top box now?
I haven't at the moment, but we did give it a try. We gave it a good try for a few days, but ultimately went back to just with the set-top box direct to the TV for a number of reasons.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I've done, but I'd like to go on. What's your reason?
Well, first of all, it was just, as I said originally when it was announced, we're sitting there watching TV with the TV on, the Xbox on, and the set-top box. 3 things just to watch TV, and I just, like I say, we tried it, but there was just no real benefit. We were still using the remote control to the satellite set-top box. We were still, still having to reach for a remote control. It just, it just didn't seem to, add anything. It was purely just it was kind of nice to be able to flick between, and I think probably if I was more of a gamer and watching TV and actually making use of the fact that you could switch around, I think then possibly I could see a benefit. But when you're just sitting there watching something that's been recorded, it's just didn't provide any benefit.
Yeah, it was for me. It was the extra layer of, I know not much, but an extra layer of complexity that I'd have no problem with, but I wasn't sure whether the rest of the family would appreciate and get any. And like you said, there's not a huge benefit to it.
No, I mean, yes, you can say, Xbox, go, watch BBC One or something, and it would jump, or what's on BBC One, it will show you the guide, and so there were some nice things, but ultimately it just, the on-screen controls couldn't do. Couldn't access recorded TV. Yes, you could use the Smart Glass app, but that's kind of quite cumbersome trying to use an app on a phone compared to just reaching for the remote control. And the other thing I found that once I'd set it up, a couple of times I left the house and they just found it really hard to get to TV. For example, we had to make sure that the set-top box was switched on before the Xbox, or it would just say there was no signal. Like you say, it just adds that level of complexity that just there wasn't significant benefit to take that additional pain point. Yeah,
and it was kind of the feature that I was looking forward to the most, really. And I'm surprised, I just haven't. I've switched it back and not really bothered with it.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, it was quite nice, and the one guide, works quite nice, but it just there wasn't enough. And as I say, that the really big thing ultimately was, why have we got 3 devices on just to watch TV? It's just such a waste of electricity.
And Gary, would you say this more popular in, say, the US because of the set-top box? The way that they use the systems.
I think there is. I mean, we've had some pretty good quality set-top box type things, obviously Media Center, etc., and which hasn't got the same penetration in the States, but their cable boxes tend to be pretty appalling. Getting better, but a lot of them are still on very old cable boxes, which are not the best things in the world. And the guide data stuff is definitely more appealing for them in that respect. It gives them a lot of flexibility they never had before. So I think that it definitely has had more take up over there.
Yeah.
And obviously, I mean, in the UK, we still haven't got quite the number of channels they've got in the States. So finding a way around 1,000 channels is sometimes a bit difficult. Whereas if you can just say go to ESPN, it's a lot quicker to do that than trying to scroll through a channel guide.
I suppose the one benefit I did find though was the not having to switch my amp, because my amp is a few years old now, so it's got multiple optical inputs in, but you've got to actually switch them with either remote or you've got to get up and do it. So having that under one HDMI port was quite nice, and that did make it easier for the family to understand, because they didn't quite. Not sure, if I left the receiver on the Xbox and they started watching TV and wondered where the sound was, and they turn it up on the remote, and so I suppose that was a good that inside integration was good. But I've been surprised really how not that bothered I was with it when I really thought that was the whole point of the Xbox One, was to bring everything together. But you just tend to find it hasn't really been, like Jay said, there's not really good enough reasons to warrant it.
No, the one thing we have managed to do on our TV, because now we've started using the Sonos, I wanted to disable the sound, because again we had the similar things that you described in, where the kids would grab the TV remote to increase the volume, because that's what they were used to doing. But our TV set's got what's called a hotel mode, and you can go in there and set the maximum volume to 0, so that it's impossible to turn the sound up on the TV, which works quite well.
Yeah. Maybe I should have a look at doing that. I think if I had a modern receiver which had HDMI input, then it wouldn't be a problem. I'd just route everything through that way. But I haven't got that set up at the moment. Did you try the? You said you tried the Smart Glass app with the one guide on there.
Yeah, and as I say, it worked quite nicely. I mean, one thing I was impressed with the update, the recent update to Smart Glass at the same time as the firmware for the Xbox One was launched, was that once I told it what set-top box, the on-screen buttons reflected the remote control that goes with our Humax FreeSat box. So from that integration, it was really nice. But it was just the fact that without using that app, there was no way to control that directly through the Xbox. You couldn't say, Xbox go to recorded TV or Xbox record, that kind of thing. Yeah. You kind of got an unexpected result with that last one. But yeah.
Yeah.
In addition to TV adverts turning the Xbox on in the first place, I think I could just imagine the reverse happening actually with because
Xbox record this.
Yeah. Well, also the Xbox on, our TV doesn't have an explicit on and off infrared control, so ours is on toggle. So with the Xbox, trying to think it's turning itself on, we could potentially have turned the TV off. So it was just good fun.
Yeah. As you kindly put on Twitter about my home automation system after a couple of weeks back.
Yeah.
I did actually have that experience, because obviously I've mentioned before, one of the reasons I named the home automation system Maya was because of the ship in Farscape, which is one of my favourite TV shows. And I was watching it the other day, and there was something said about Maya, and all the lights went flying on. And she is muted at the moment. I've now got a new command for her. I'm recording the podcast. Be quiet.
Bit like the command I issued to my kids before I started. It's like, keep quiet and stay off the internet.
Yeah. Well, you don't need to do that now. The second part of that is.
And Rich has just said Xbox on, Xbox factory reset. So.
Yeah. So are your kids actually absolutely delighted you've now got high-speed internet?
Oh God, yeah. They offered to pay for the thing themselves. Yeah, they certainly are, because I mean they like I said, they stream all YouTube stuff, and then every time they turn their Xbox and they want to do an update, how long is this gonna take? So so they're quite happy with that. So
you'll set me off on a rant, because I wanted to buy Watch Dogs on the Xbox One, and it was £60 compared to £44 in game for a physical disc. And so I went and bought a disc begrudgingly.
So it's what, £40?
It's about £44 in the shop, which means getting in a car and going and buying a box that's had to be truck rolled to the store, let alone manufactured, and it was £60 to buy it digitally.
Yeah, I don't get that. I don't get that at all. why? How? What's the reason for that? Is that because the extra 20 quid is so that you can, I don't know, instant access or what? I don't get it.
It's essentially the fact that the retail stores are selling the boxed versions at a loss, or certainly, not much profit, whereas digitally they have to sell it at the price that the studio sets it at, which is, it's just ludicrous. I mean, and goodness knows how long it would have taken me to download the thing, but yeah, I just thought, I really wanted to go all digital with the Xbox One, but I thought I just can't justify that. It just doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't make sense. Even if you had your 100 meg broadband, it's still worth going out and paying 20 and saving you 20 quid for a month's broadband.
Yeah. Well, when you consider that the season pass for Watch Dogs is £15, it's like, you could buy both for the same value as the digital copy of the game, and it's just, anyway, I'm going to risk getting on my soapbox, so I'm going to stop.
I mean, as a side issue, that has, I'm sure that there's other people like me, but I've got an Xbox One and I've got 2 games. The football game that came with it, which I never play, but my son does, and the motorsport, Forza Motorsport, which I love and play that quite a lot. I'm on level 101 now, my driver.
Oh wow, gosh, you are doing well.
But that's the only game, and I haven't spent any money on any more games. And I go into game and I look on the store and see Watch Dogs and these other ones, but just nothing really grabbed me yet. And especially at 60 or 50 quid or 60 quid, I'm not going to take a punt on a game.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I think the games are still coming. I mean, if you're a massive Call of Duty fan or Battlefield fan, then there's the latest versions to keep you going. But in terms of new content, I mean, even Watch Dogs, most of the reviews are critical of it in the way that it was supposed to introduce this new angle of gameplay, and essentially just falls back to a Grand Theft Auto style shootout. And even watching E3, it was clearly all about the games this year and like last year, but even then it was still just first person shooter after first person shooter. There was a couple of obviously the Forza Horizon 2, which I was really interested in, but even then it just does seem to be the same old games over and over.
Yeah, and I think that's the Horizon was something that I was interested in. There was a Star Wars one that looked quite good as well, but that's not out till sort of next year. And I spoke to someone that played Watch Dogs. He said, "Yeah, it's okay, but I'm not sure I'd pay 50 quid for it."
Or 60.
Yeah, 60 quid. And then there was Wolfenstein, which I used to play. And Doom, I used to love those, but I'm again, if it was 30, 40 quid, I may have two more games, something like that. But at that high price, it puts me off. Maybe I'm an exception because I got it more for the media stuff.
I think it's unfortunately it's the popularity of Call of Duty. A couple of years back, Activision decided to stick about an extra £10 on the box price of a Call of Duty game, and it sold. It was the biggest selling game ever. So all the other studios followed suit because they saw that people were willing to pay that price. So it is literally about demand for games, and if people refuse to pay what they were paying, then the price would come down. But while people are willing to pay that much, then they'll continue to drive the price upwards. It's a shame, but that's the way it works. I
mean, Gary, you're not a hardcore gamer. Is it Xbox One? Is it something you're tempted with now, or does it not really have enough media features really to bring you around?
I've been thinking about this, and at the moment it still doesn't justify the cost for me for what it is. I mean, if they could actually separate the gaming and the entertainment features, and actually maybe just have a box which just had the entertainment features on, I might be interested in it, because I'm not a hardcore gamer, as you rightly say. Although I have to say, Forza Horizons did tempt me. I did see the graphics of that and thought, that looks nice. But no, you're never going to let me get hands on a driving game.
No. I'll never. If you get a driving game, I'll have to come round and take the controller off you. I have been witness.
You can just imagine his driver tar, can't you?
Yeah, it would not be safe to everybody else.
I'll be one of those ones that Josh Pollard always complains about. But I can drive in real life. That's the weird thing. Anyway, that's going to be the real test of a driving game. Though. If I can drive well on it, then it's accurate. But there's nothing on the Xbox One that really tempts me at the moment. I just there's nothing which really pushes the boundary away from Xbox 360. I think, to my mind, it's a bit like the gap between the Surface Pro and the Surface Pro 2.
Yeah.
There's a bit more performance there. There's a bit more things, but there's nothing actually there which is mind blowing. For me, I mean, for other people, I can see the point. I mean, I certainly see Titanfall and games like that. If you're a gamer, those things are really good. And I would have to say the same between the PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3 as well, and PlayStation 4. The PlayStation 3 to 4 gap is not big enough. The 2 to 3 was, but 3 to 4 isn't.
Yeah, I think. I mean, the one interesting game that did come out of E3, which I'd read stuff about before, was Evolve, from the guys that came up with what was it, Left 4 Dead.
Yeah.
That looks really interesting, with the 4-player co-op and the 5th player playing as the Beast. I thought that looked like a really interesting concept for a co-op, multiplayer game.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that is good if you've got 5 game of friends, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm just waiting for the next generation Red Dead Redemption. Then I'll be happy for a few months.
Yeah.
And just as you alluded to, Jason, the E3 was the big gaming event, and this time last year they talked about the Xbox One and media features and all sorts. This time there was no talk of that. It was gaming only, was it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, completely just gaming. They got a few announcements out of the way beforehand in terms of announcing new apps and what actually interesting. I looked and couldn't see anything for the Blinkbox app on Xbox One, and happened to tweet them, and they said, yeah, it's available right now. But yeah, they definitely got that stuff out of the way before E3, and E3 was absolutely just about the games. There was no way they were making the same mistake they did last year.
Did we talk about the Xbox Live Gold subscription changes?
I think we might have mentioned it, but the changes hadn't taken place. So what are the changes?
Basically, you're not going to need a Gold subscription for most of the entertainment apps. And I think does that apply on the 360 as well, Jason? Do you know that?
I think it does.
I believe it does. Yeah, there was an update for that which introduced that and your real names.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a big difference. So that means like iPlayer on the Xbox 360, Netflix, Internet Explorer on the Xbox One wasn't available before. So that's that's all there. Without the Gold subscription. I kind of wish I hadn't renewed my Gold now, because I really only got Gold for those.
Yeah, they are doing a refund though, aren't they? You can get a refund.
They are, I suppose. But I did download the free games as well.
It was actually good timing, because the announcement just came out as I was about to renew my Gold, so I didn't bother, because I don't use it for a bit of multiplayer gaming. So for me,
I think it's slightly less important on the Xbox One, because with the Xbox One person has Gold, everyone has Gold, whereas I think it's more significant on the 360.
Yeah. I know that my kids were quite happy, because one of them they used to share an Xbox, so they had Gold on that account, and then I gave them my old Xbox 360, so they had another account and they didn't get Gold for that, so they're quite happy now because they can watch Netflix on there.
Yeah, I mean, definitely makes sense. Having to have an Xbox Gold and a Netflix subscription is just ridiculous. And I think also it was about leveling the playing field, because PlayStation doesn't have that limitation. And I think they were trying to claw back some ground, I think.
And I know it was a bone of contention with the BBC for a long while, wasn't it? Bringing the BBC iPlayer to the Xbox 360 was the goal.
Yes, yeah. But they weren't allowed to charge for that.
And it's still not there though on the Xbox One.
No, considering they said that the Kinect was an issue, and some of the recent updates included the fact that it will now disable gestures while it's playing video. So, their kind of complaint is now out of the way. But yeah, again, with the announcement about the new apps just before E3, and I really scoured through to see if iPlayer was on there, but it certainly wasn't. And interesting enough that ITV now have an app for Windows Phone, I think it is, but not for where you're probably most likely to use it.
Mm.
Yeah, just Microsoft needs to work with those. I mean, Richard's in the chat room saying that the lack of media features is what kind of holding back the Xbox One for him.
Yeah, I think the 360 is a good, got some good media apps on there. They've got Amazon Love Film, or Instant Video as it's called now, and they've got Netflix, but we still use our 360 a little bit, but it's so slow when the kids turn it on, or you're trying to get into an app. For example, we were still using Blinkbox on the Xbox 360, and it does remind you how slow the Xbox 360 is compared to the Xbox One.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're not going to see any new media announcements probably for the Xbox One for a little while now. Anyway, now they've got so they're focused on the gaming, certainly at E3.
Yes, yeah, no, they were definitely not going to make the same mistake twice.
Yeah. Okay, what else did I want to? Oh, now I mentioned this at the beginning though. So, talking about updates. So you mentioned the Surface before. Surface, there was a June firmware update for the Surface. Now, there seemed to be a bit of an issue with getting hold of this. So I saw the update. I went on last Tuesday, Patch Tuesday. I went to Windows Update and just checked for myself, and there the updates were. And then I went on the Xbox. I went on the Surface site where it lists the details of the changes, and I saw the changes. So I got mine installed straight away, and there was new firmware which included stability, boot scenario stability, improvement with the Surface power cover. I think there were some radio improvements, audio improvements for Miracast. There was quite a lot of changes, and there was changes for the Surface Pro 2 as well. Nothing for the original Surface or the original Surface Pro. But Jason, did I see on Twitter you were having issues getting the update on?
Yeah, it was quite odd. I mean, every time there's been a firmware update previously, it's always just been there on Patch Tuesday. You know, you look for updates and there it is.
Yeah.
But this time, all I got was the security and other updates for both our Surface 2 and the Surface Pro 2, but no firmware updates. So I kind of took to Twitter to find out what was going on, and also on the Microsoft Answers boards, and it seemed to be quite common that there were quite a few people not being offered the firmware update, and it turned up about when was it? I think it was over the weekend. I think it eventually turned up, and I think Mary Jo Foley reported back that Microsoft were throttling the firmware updates or Windows Update in general, and that they have been ever since the launch. But so it's the first time I've never had one on the day that the Patch Tuesday updates came out, so it's quite odd.
Yeah, it's strange because they were just there when I looked, and I have to say my Surface 2 for a while now has been pretty stable. I haven't had to mess about with the Wi-Fi like I used to do, and it turns on okay. I don't really have any issues with it turning on like I had occasionally, where it would sort of not turn on properly. You'd have to hold the power button to get it to come on. So it seems pretty stable now. I've not had any sort of major issues with it. I think I've been impressed with the sort of stability of my Surface recently. Actually, I think they've done a good job of getting those drivers now. I mean, I suppose they've had a few goes at it, but they've done a good job getting it up to speed.
Yeah, I did wonder with these two firmwares for the Surface 2 and Surface Pro 2 that there was so much power-related changes that I wondered whether or not they were trying to avoid a repeat of Christmas when, you know, the power updates went completely horribly wrong.
Yeah, it does surprise me they can't ship a Surface with the power stuff working properly.
Yeah,
all these problems they've had over the times of power. Even the Surface Pro 3 has got power issues. It just seems. Don't they test these things?
You would think so, wouldn't you? But I think, I mean, generally speaking, the firmware updates for the Surface, apart from the December one, have gone pretty smoothly for me. Other than this time not being able to get them, but I do think it was a case that they were throttling them, or either there was an issue with the detection.
Yeah, I mean, I know they've got the actual user base on Surfaces is higher than it was the last time they did a major update, so maybe that's an issue as well.
Yeah, because I think Ed Bott, he had to wait a couple of days for his as well, so there was definitely some balancing going on somewhere.
And have we seen any more of the Surface Pro 3? I think that's due this week, isn't it? Certainly in the States.
Yeah, there was a delay there on one of the models. I'm trying to remember which one it was. It's the one 228.
I think it's on. Apparently, from what I saw, it's only new orders that any pre-orders will get shipped.
We'll get shipped on time, but then yeah, I think you're right.
Although in the UK we're still waiting till August.
Yeah. June 30th for any new orders in the States.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if I had to replace my laptop, I'd definitely look at the Surface Pro 3. I think it's a very nice looking device.
Yeah.
Right, what else did we have? Oh yeah, we talked about devices. We touched on this after Computex. We talked about the low-cost tablets. Did you see that Toshiba have launched a 7-inch on Core 7?
Yes, yeah. Which actually I did know about last time when we were talking about it, but I couldn't say anything about. Which looks good, doesn't it?
Yeah, we don't know the price yet, do we? But I think they say it was sort of Nexus 7 pricing.
Yeah. Aggressive Nexus 7 pricing was what I heard. So launch should probably, I don't know what that means. Is it going to mean it's going to be the sort of 139 that the original Nexus 7 came out, and then maybe discounted? I mean, certainly some people I've been talking to recently have been saying that they expect Windows tablets, 7-inch Windows tablets, to be sub £100 within 6 months.
Yeah, so Christmas time we're going to see a lot of cheap ones.
Yeah. So with the licensing changing, obviously.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting because the Surface already outsells the Nexus 7. So.
Oh, and I tell you what, I forgot to mention. I was going to mention. Do you remember? Back in Christmas, I had a problem with my kid's Surface and the touch cover not working properly. And if you did a sort of a reset, a refresh, it sorted it all out. So I wrote a blog post about this at the time because I thought if anybody ever looks for it, then they'll see that. But you would not believe how many hits that gets every day now. If you search for Surface keyboard problems, the article I wrote is probably number 1 or number 2 on Google now. So that's probably why it gets so many. But there must be a lot of people. So there is a lot of hits coming through, hundreds every day. Looking at that article, so there's definitely a lot of Surface users and Surface users with keyboard problems. I've never had the problem. I only saw it once on my kids' one, but it must be fairly common. And it's actually funny reading some of the comments. People have put, "Oh my God, thanks so much for posting this." And one guy put that he was just about to leave for a month working away, and all they had was his Surface, and he thought he was going to have to return it. He was so glad. So, but yeah, so there are a lot of people using the Surfaces, and I don't know where this keyboard problem's cropped up. Why it affects so many people, I don't know.
No, I had it happen. I had to read your post and fix it. So, so it does happen. I don't know if it's to do with how you take the Surface. If you disconnect it slowly or something like that, so it shorts or something. I don't know, but it certainly seems to have problems occasionally. Yeah.
Well, like I said, I've had no problems with it, but it's an article that's probably by the end of the year it would probably be the top read post.
Yeah.
Across the whole year. Oh, second only to your guide, probably. your what was it? The decoder guide thing.
Yeah.
What else want to mention?
We ought to mention the Amazon Cloud Player and their streaming music service.
Oh yes.
We ought to.
Yeah. So, go on. Who wants to start us off with that?
Amazon with their Prime membership, where you get free next day delivery, added in the US. Amazon Prime Instant Video, which then just recently actually came to the UK. They've now added into that subscription a music streaming service, which I think is US only at the moment. But interesting enough, I was shocked the fact that it only includes about 1 million songs compared to, is it 20 million or something on Spotify?
Yeah.
That just seems like that's a cavernous difference.
It is, but they've targeted modern music, so they're not looking at back catalogue. They're looking at stuff that they have a very. I think this is actually to tie in with their phone release, and I think they're targeting a young target audience with that. So it kind of makes sense. If you get the video and the Prime, the Prime's available. I'm not sure if the family membership includes Prime in the States as well, because obviously I haven't got that over the UK and whether that would spread out. But I could imagine sort of the Edge Prime music on to your kids and use the Prime Video yourself, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean certainly here my wife's got the Prime and I'm like a guest member, so I don't get access to the instant video streaming.
No, you just get shipping on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that, I mean, there's certainly. I think it's quite worthwhile from that sort of point of view. I mean, they seem to have targeted the sort of music that most. If you look at the pop charts, those things are actually Pop charts. That's dated, doesn't it? The charts.
Sound like Alan Freeman. Not off.
Not off.
Smashing nicely.
I did used to do a chart program at one stage. And down 4 places this week, it's the Surface Pro 2. Making a new entry at number 1, it's Surface Pro 3. But yeah, so if you look at the charts, they've basically covered what's out there, and not just the pop chart, as I was just saying, but they've also got sort of the rock chart and stuff. They've got some heavy metal and country music and stuff like that, but all modern music.
So I'm not going to find my 1970s prog rock collection on there then.
Probably not yet. Although obviously you could do your music match with Amazon and do it that way. So you've still got that option.
Yeah, because the nice thing about the Amazon one is all the CDs that I've bought for my wife over the years are all in my Amazon cloud now, so I get all the music in there. But that is quite a nice feature, you know. Especially as they backdated it as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure. There was some talk at one stage where the Prime members were going to get a bigger cloud storage. I haven't seen that yet.
Go ahead, Jace.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, I think we're paying the £20 extra for the Amazon Cloud. It's working quite well for us, actually, especially with the integration with the Sonos. The only thing that frustrates me is some of the album art's wrong, and there's absolutely no way to change it.
Yeah.
But that's just a small little gripe.
Yeah, I think they do a good job packaging all that up to make one selection, especially as a sort of competition to Netflix as well, into one thing that actually looks like quite a good deal.
Yeah, and I think the Amazon Prime Video has actually picked up a bit since they've taken it off the Love Film side of things. They seem to be getting more quality content and higher resolution as well, which was always a problem with the
yeah, I think, certainly the content in the UK for them and Netflix is just completely battling against the Sky exclusives at the moment.
Yeah,
it is very. I think that is a bit of a giant. Netflix are no small company, neither Amazon, but I think Sky do have a lot of deals all locked up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Although a lot of them come to the end in 2015, so that could be quite interesting.
Yeah, that would be very interesting. Actually, one thing that I can't, sorry, digressing slightly, but I can't remember if we mentioned it, that Sonos now supports Google Music.
Yes, and that's what I use.
Yeah.
And I did have a workaround using the Allcast app, but you don't need that anymore. And actually, a very nice little feature that I only kind of realized later was I've got the Google Play Music, the All Access service on my Google account. So I've been playing the music on there, and it works great. So and then I put this Sonos app on my wife's iPad, and I said, you can play here. And obviously it's linked to my server with all music on. So I just assumed that if I wasn't sort of launching the content from my phone or without my Android account on there, my Google account, then I wouldn't be able to play that music. So it would only play the music on my network. But it actually still seems to work. So even though my wife's using her iPad with her account on, and it's using the Sonos app, it seems to be the account details are stored in the Sonos itself.
Yes, yeah. That's one of the things I really like about the Sonos.
Yeah. So she can actually access all my Google Play, which is everything, the instant access. So that actually works really well. So it doesn't need to be me that launches the sort of the album from my Google account, because that's stored in the Sonos itself.
Yes, yeah, like I say, no, that's one of the things that really struck me. Just that the Sonos integration just works so well across the board. It's such an easy device, to bring home, plug it in, set it up, and then anybody that installs the Sonos app within your network and gets authorized to connect to your Sonos device just automatically gets all the settings. They don't need to know where the music's stored or what the service credentials are. It just works.
Yeah, it's very
really
good.
Like it.
Yeah, they've made a great job of that, and I know there's a few rivals out there, but Sonos isn't the cheapest, but it's a very slick service, and I've got that Play 3, and I think I'm probably going to get another one.
Yeah, we've got the Sonos soundbar now with the TV, and it's just amazing.
I think the thing was as when I wrote that article for Fascinating Tech last issue about trying to do do it yourself Sonos type system. It's just so difficult. You have to go so many hoops to get anything close to a Sonos, and Sonos you just plug in, it works. I guess my only thing on the Sonos would be I'd like to see them do some higher resolution music formats, but that's about it really.
Yeah, and they do sound good as well. I mean, I have mine up. I had kids moaning at me because I had it on too loud. But I remember my dad shouting at me for being too loud. So at least
it works both ways.
Yeah. But I don't let them put their music on it, obviously.
I bet you never would dare to shout at your dad for being too loud, though.
No chance. No, I wouldn't have done that.
Different generations.
Yeah, how times change.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember his albums on the his albums on the vinyl player.
Yeah.
In fact, Richard says he can see Dark Side of the Moon upside down on my music stand behind me because it's so clear. So the video is working very well. It's actually a music book of Dark Side of the Moon. It is upside down. So the video must be a lot clearer than it normally is.
Yeah, it definitely is. Actually, I've got it running on my 50-inch, and it's definitely looking good.
50-inch Ian.
Yeah, that's what
I can fill your screen, Gary. He's got a poster of it anyway, signed poster.
Yeah. So Gary's saying he's got his 50-inch TV. That'll be the size of phones in a couple of years' time.
Yeah.
That's the new look.
Actually, I mean, you say that I've seen some technology which would allow a phone to produce a 50-inch screen. So that would be quite cool.
There you go. I've turned it the right way up now. Okay, what else we do before we?
The competition each week. Spot the thing that Ian's got wrong in his office.
Yeah. Well, I did say on the chat room, there is an album cover below the clock over there. If anybody spots, I have actually put what it is in the chat room, but anybody can spot that and work out what that is. They're doing quite well. Maybe I'll swap it 1 inch out. But that's an actual vinyl over there, so up on the wall. And I've got a few vinyl albums up on the wall around here, so maybe I could need to change them each week, and you could see what they are.
Yeah. I'd have to come around and record from Gary's house every week.
Well, you're not that far away. We could do that.
Yeah.
We've got a competition. There's still time to enter this as well. And just thanks to 3 Mobile for helping us out with this. So all I want to know is what your favourite Android app is, and you could win an £80 Google Play voucher. So you can leave a comment on the post that I'll include a link in the show notes, or you can use the hashtag TDL favourite app. A link, all the details in the show note, and just tell us what your favourite app is, and they're just going to pick one winner out at random from that. So plenty of time, just get that in there, and still have time after the show's out. So yeah, you can get that in there and tell us what your favourite app is. I think Beyond Pod is probably my favourite on Android, the podcasting app, because I do listen to podcasts all the time, and that's a really good app for downloading the podcasts and get the show and everything else on there.
People don't have to choose the Digital Lifestyle app then.
No. I haven't written it. Well, there is one that you can use, but it's not the one I wrote for Android. It's just the ones that comes with the podcast hosting. So I haven't done any development on Android yet. I tried a load of clips once and then closed it again.
Well, you don't need to use Eclipse now.
Yes, I know. I keep meaning to have a look at that. I use Xamarin.
Yeah, it's Xamarin 3 with Xamarin Forms. You should be able to knock something out in 5 minutes.
I'm going to mention Media Browser has been updated for Windows 8.1 and includes new transcoding support. So I think it supports 720p and a couple of the formats, which reduce the load on the server. So it's well worth checking out. XBMC 13.1 final version has been released since we last talked, so that's got quite a few fixes in it. It's all no real major new features, but lots of bug fixes in, and there's new versions of Raspberry MC and OpenELEC to go with that as well. So they're worth getting. I'm quite happy. I've got XBMC running on my machine up here now using OpenELEC connected up to my VideoBox server, so I've got quite a nice little setup on there. In fact, I posted videos of this. I think I mentioned this last time, but while I was away, I posted a video of how I've got that set up so I can watch Blu-rays now on my Raspberry Pi, which is pretty impressive when you think, how expensive the Raspberry Pi is, and you can watch a Blu-ray on there. It makes a nice little media player now. And I think that was all the things I wanted to mention tonight. You can email me, ian@digitallives.com. What's the best way of getting in contact with you guys? Gary, where can we find you?
On @GaryWMA on Twitter. You can find me on www.fascinatingtech.com as well, and www.convenientcomputing.com. And I haven't actually got anything new or published on the Microsoft site this time, but you still look at my old article there as well.
And what's on Fascinating Tech? What have you got going there?
Well, at the moment, we're just getting ready for our next issue. So the cover art's up for it, so you can have a look and see what's on the cover of the Calc magazine next week. For the issue should be out end of this month. We've got a huge competition this month. So I think it's about nearly £600 worth of prizes, so well worth looking out for that. Really good stuff. Sponsored by Energizer this month. They've got some really cool new battery charge things, that we're going to review those. Got a Qi charger. Actually, I was going to mention that tonight on the show. So just good reminding. So I've been testing this nice little flatbed Qi charger out from from Mobile Solar Chargers. It's designed to work standalone or with a battery pack, and works really well. The only thing I've slight comment against it is you have to. It powers itself off if you haven't got anything connected to it. So you have to remember to power it on before you drop the device onto it to charge it. But
otherwise, you forget to.
Yeah, if it doesn't, it won't charge. But the convenience of having something you can just drop the device onto is brilliant, especially obviously with the Lumias with the built-in Qi charging.
Yeah.
What I did like though as well is they have a little adapter you can use in a Galaxy, I think it's S5 and above, which literally just sits between the battery and the S5. You don't have to do any wiring or cabling or anything like that. You just slot it in the battery slot and get the battery back in, and that allows you to Qi charge a Samsung S5 as well, Galaxy S5 as well. So quite a cool idea that.
I keep meaning to have a look at one of the chargers because this Nexus 5 supports it. So.
Yeah. Well, the Qi chargers that as Qi charger goes is pretty. Charges is the website.
Oh, excellent. And Jace, we can find you on Twitter?
I'm at Database Jace.
Excellent stuff. Well, looks like my broadband held out much better than it does previous times.
That's brilliant. No real dropouts from your end at all.
Yeah, and decent video in not in 3D, but freaking people out by doing that with the camera. So, but as we get more confidence, we'll start to do a bit more on the video side of things. So, well, thanks for everybody in the chat room. That was good fun, and thanks guys for joining us. So we should be back next Tuesday, 8 p.m. UK time, and I think we might have an Amazon phone, maybe Cortana, and I thought we've got Google I/O coming out pretty soon as well. So we might see some new Nexus devices as well. You never know. So. We'll talk about those next week.
Brilliant.
Excellent.
Well, thanks for everybody for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Take care.
Cheers.
Excellent. Good stuff. That worked a lot better. A lot less panic ridden from my side to stop the keep the broadband running. Thanks to everybody on the chat room. That was good as well. We'll see you next week.